Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video here on Bitcoin. We're going to do a full update, kind of a post-mortem yesterday after Liberation Day and all the tariffs that were announced. We'll briefly talk about that fundamentally. I think that's necessary also to know where the price is going. And then we'll talk about the technicals, of course. There's some interesting levels that I wanted to talk about, and just in general, the current state and where Bitcoin is at. Brief, by the way, video is a bit later. The power was out in my own home, so I had to switch real quick. But we're here, all right. Now, in general, yesterday I was completely risk off, and I think it was a good decision. We talked about that yesterday in the middle of the market update as well. That we were seeing some sort of bullish momentum going into Liberation Day and into the press conference. And then, well, the press conference itself, at least how the market is judging it right now, was worse than expected. All right. And that's why we dropped down this much. I'll remove the TPO so you can see better. But ultimately, I was very, very happy that I missed all of that price action. Of course, there's money to be made. But there's more money to be made when you have an edge, all right? And this was all purely speculation and based on news, which is usually not my cup of tea. I mean, I usually try to stay risk off, and that's also what I talked about yesterday. But we did. I mean, if you go back to my middle of the day market update, we did talk about the potential sell the news, and that is what happened. You can see the price of Bitcoin. I mean, if we zoom out to the 4-hour time frame here, we drop down below that major key level right here. I would say between the monthly POC at let's say 85,000 to round it up a bit, and then the previous month POC, but also the value area high right here in this level here at 84,200. That's the most important key level. I mean, you can also see historically when we broke above that, that was the moment that we would rally up higher. So now that we have broken down below that, and with quite a lot of volume as well, right? I mean, volume is the main determinant of how strong and how reliable price action is. And this seems reliable, all right? Now, and you can also see right here, if you take a look at the S&P 500 futures, I'm not sure why these blue rectangles are there, but all right. You can also see that in general, the financial markets viewed the tariffs press conference, the announcement, as relatively bearish. Look, the thing about these tariffs is it's very, very uncertain. All right, if somebody tells you that they know what these tariffs is going to do, they're lying. All right, it's impossible to know. There's way too many factors and way too many things influencing how this is going to go for the US, which obviously directs the price of the stock markets, of the financial markets. It's unpredictable. All right, so therefore, I mean, at this point of time, it's also very hard to predict where the S&P 500 is going, and therefore also where Bitcoin is going. We can make some sort of an assumption based on what we have right now, but there will obviously be different scenarios which you have to take into account. But so far, relatively a big drop. Now, what is the case, and that is one of the most interesting things of today, is that we first of all, if you take a look at Bitcoin, we have some major imbalances here to the upsides. We have a massive fair value gap there, for example, between 84 and 86,000. And then outside of that, we have a major gap to the upside in the stock markets, all right? Because most of the price action happens in the futures markets post the US markets. So what that means is that there is a major imbalance here in this area right here between 86 and 84,000. And I think at this point of time, because we actually do see some relative strength from Bitcoin, first of all, Bitcoin is stronger than the stock market right now if you compare the price over March or over the last month. And then outside of that, we also here and there still actually have a Coinbase Bitcoin premium. So that combination makes it most likely, in my opinion, that today, especially with the US opening, we can actually fill some of that imbalance. But the big question will be, and that is unfortunately uncertain, the big question will be, well, will we be able to actually break above this level right here, let's say at 84,900 with volume? Because if the answer is yes, like if we're able to fill that imbalance and then hold the main level we need to break above, 84,000, we can actually still rally up higher towards 88 and 90,000. Like this is a scenario that is possible. However, like I said, then we need to get that breakout with quite a lot of volume. And that's, especially with the fundamentals right now, is still very uncertain. And I would even say that that's less likely than just filling the gap to the upside, filling that imbalance, which I do expect, but then dropping down lower towards the bottom of the range we have dropped down into, between 85,000 and 80,000. I think it's more likely we're going down there. and then from there find support, and then from there we can also talk about going back up to 84,500 and then potentially getting a real breakout. But given the fundamentals right now and given the uncertainty that's still here and that will still be there for the next weeks, I think that's just the market. I think it's more likely that we will fill some of that imbalance right here between 84 and 86, but to get another breakout is a bit too much to ask. But I'll be back later today with a middle of the day market update, of course. But for now, pretty long video, but that's what you need to know. All right, so thank you for watching. Take care and bye.